chop all these siege tanks now. Those drones really desperately trying to run for their lives. There's Wednesday Night
vVv gaming. It'll be good to play it multiple times on the ladder.
Yeah, definitely going to be good as both players, RuFF, a very, very heavy ladder warrior, as we've mentioned in the past. I think even in Season 3, he still had somewhere around 2,000 games played on the ladder. So and having this introduced back to the ladder map pool means that he is going to get a little bit more practice as the game gets underway. RuFF versus Mentalist, no friendly spawns or close spawns possible. It is always going to be either close by air or full cross spawns. And really, full cross spawns versus close by air really opens up very, very different styles of Terran versus Protoss. What do you think Mentalist is hoping for?
Usually don't like to be so close by air. I think probably rather have that the total cross positions get into a big macro game. If Mentalist is the level of player that we've talked about, I think he's definitely going to have his late game control, which is so important, especially when you go up against ghosts. Having to get the feedbacks off there and just good micro with storms and colossi. I think you want to have a big macro game, but I think that's another thing that we could talk about a little bit, the upcoming patch. As we introduce the players here, let me do that. We have Mentalist spawning as the blue Protoss in the south, and we've got vVv's RuFF spawning as the red Terran in the north. What do you think about the Ghost nerf coming up?
The Ghost nerf radius 1.5, that is going to be very, very large, but very interesting already is that you see RuFF moving out with a very early SCV. He's going to be trying to go for a mineral scout, quickly going to see that those minerals are not being mined, and now pretty much know exactly where his opponent has spawned. And what is he going to do with this one SCV? I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, so the build that he did on Shakuris Plateau, a number of weeks ago against a Protoss, where he actually went for that barracks play, and then he sort of chained the bunkers together to get to the mineral line. He might have been actually trying to go for that, as he did go for that mineral scout, like you mentioned, and he had to actually pull back, and he's creating his first supply depot in the right base here, so I imagine he will immediately go down to the southern base, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to sneak in there and get this strategy off.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to sneak in and get the strategy off at all. The supply depot, in a rather curious location, it may get destroyed, but RuFF was opening up or planning for some cheese. He wasn't going to be able to execute it, and now it looks like he's going to be perhaps going for a little bit more standard play, but he's now going for a little bit more of a delayed gas, since he did lose some precious mining time, and that lowered supply depot may just be a forgotten memory, as this game may turn out to be a very, very long macro game.
Actually, I like that for RuFF a little bit. It's going to give him a little bit of sight there. Probably not going to be taken out until later in the game when, Protoss don't often get high ground sight unless they get out those Colossi or get out their Void Rays or, crazy other things that we don't often see in this matchup. So I think that'll survive for a little while and give RuFF a little bit of scouting. But as you mentioned, he is getting his refinery up. It started mining gas just a few seconds ago, so we'll see what he does off this barracks. I imagine we might get a Tech Lab and a Reaper, perhaps?
All right, so right now we've been talking about perhaps RuFF doing a little bit of cheese, but we see a double gas build from Mentalist already, and I'm really curious as to what Mentalist is trying to do with this particular build. Normally, you don't see a double gas or a double assimilator that early coming in from a Protoss, so he may be trying to follow it up with perhaps a Twilight Council or perhaps even some Void Ray play. There is a number of options and a number of strategies that Mentalist can try to execute at this point, as you can now see a Chrono Boost for a Sentry and now getting that Warp Gate tech.
Yeah, interesting to Chrono Boost out that Sentry. Going to give it time to bank up that energy so we can get those force fields off. Typically we see Protoss use their Chrono Boost on the Warp Gate tech. As you mentioned, he does have the 2 gas up, so might just be going for a number of sentries, a second one on the way, and it looks like RuFF getting up his second racks and actually placing a bunker, so he's going to be safe to any sort of early gateway timing. I imagine that Mentalist not the sort of player that's going to go for some sort of 4-gate all-in, but RuFF going to be safe with that bunker.
Yeah, and now a very interesting strategy with a RuFF getting that bunker on the front door. Normally, with the bunker on the front door, it indicates to your opponent that you're trying to do some crazy tech play, perhaps trying to get cloaked banshees or something along those lines. But that's definitely not going to be the case, as the probe now tries to walk up the ramp and gets taken down. But he will get sight at least on that bunker there, as I believe it does reveal itself. Yeah, it's a bunker up on the high ground, and now we are going into Stargate. So the Stargate play may not work out very well, especially now that we're adding a reactor for RuFF. We are getting Stim as well. Void Rays or Phoenixes, both of them are not going to be any good, as a probe gonna scout out the weird pylon. And wow, what an interesting. I did not think that that supply depot would come into play that early. And now, what do you think's gonna happen in this game?
Yeah, what the heck was that? He is placing down a pylon there, so he's going to be able to warp in a little bit closer to his opponent's base. And as you mentioned, that Stargate went down, and we do see the Void Ray coming out. And this Stargate is a little bit delayed. The Void Ray going to be delayed as well, and that's because Mentalist chose to get out these 3 sentries. So we'll see what he's able to do with these sentries. Maybe get some force fields around that bunker so it can't be repaired. The Void Ray basically going to be the buster, the bunker buster. Almost better than an Immortal, as it's got really good range. It can take down the supply depot there, I think from range before Marines can even get to it. So we'll see how Mentalist chooses to use these low ground stalkers and sentries along with this Void Ray.
Yeah, the problem right now is RuFF is currently supply blocked at 35 over 35. You can see that he can lift off. He is going to have a reactor onto his starport in just a moment. He is expecting a Void Ray push, and he needs to get those Vikings out very, very quickly. Otherwise, the supply depot is going to get destroyed in just a matter of seconds. Marines now trying to make their way over. This one supply depot will get taken down with really no issue whatsoever. And now in comes some force fields to prevent any sort of repairing. And those Marines are going to be caught on the wrong side there. And this is definitely not looking good for RuFF.
RuFF was smart placing a second bunker there, basically anticipating this push, but as I said, the Void Rays does quite well against the bunker, especially when it charges up on the supply depot. And RuFF going to be supply capped here as that depot does go down, and he's just got this one bunker here. He's got a number of Marines that do have Stim, and they do have a medevac support as well. So we'll see whether Mentalist is able to bust through this last bunker. Some nice force fields go up, a Stim by RuFF, and he's going to try to take down that Void Ray. He does, and he's able to basically stop this attack from Mentalist. And I'm not sure if Mentalist has much of a follow-up here, though he did take the gold base while that attack was going on, and RuFF scouted it with his factory.
Yeah, this is perhaps one of the strangest games I've seen. A scouting factory scouting out a gold expand after a Void Ray, after a proxy supply depot in the wrong base. I really don't know what to make of this particular matchup any longer, as RuFF looks like he's looking to try to perhaps execute a drop of some sort, but there is going to be a lot of units to deal with. Stalkers and sentries down here. Guardian Shield, not in the future. There's not enough energy on any of those units just quite yet. But Stim may be the equalizing factor. Combat Shield level 1 weapons upgrade has been completed, and RuFF is going to have a very, very easy time pushing into this gold.
So that probe that found the supply depot before just auto-attacked it down. So probe killed a supply depot. I'm not sure I'll ever see that again. We do see RuFF trying to pressure this gold before it can go up and running too well here, but I think Mentalist is in a great position defending on this ramp with those force fields, and now chasing with these stalkers, a Stim and an attack here from RuFF. He's going to try to catch all these units without force fields. They don't have a lot of energy. Force fields do go up, but RuFF is able to get past them, and we'll see whether the medevacs here are able to keep these Marines alive. We've got all of the SCVs coming in as well, or a good portion of them, trying to aid in this attack. So we do have Marines trying to focus down the one Void Ray here for Mentalist. They do take it down, and it looks like RuFF, I'm not sure if he's going to pull back or continue with this attack. He did pull off a number of SCVs. He's got 10 of them here to tank a little bit of damage for these Marines and medevacs.
Yeah, this is a rather strange build. SCVs are not on auto repair. The Marines, I'm not going to sure what they're going to do, as the Stalkers are now trying to re-engage. Once again, SCVs just going to run straight at those Stalkers. One Stalker does get taken down as the Marines are continuing this push. Mentalist is now trying to run away from those Marines. The SCVs and the Stalkers, both sides, just dealing as much damage as possible, but the Stalkers are able to just win out and continually kite, and I believe RuFF is in trouble. He's currently sitting at 41 compared to 63 food, and he doesn't have up another command center.
Yeah, it's 43 harvesters to 21, and a lot of those harvesters are on a gold base there, which is just huge. It might as well be 60 to 21. and Mentalist doing such a good job there. I'm not sure if you noticed, as he was kiting with those Stalkers, he was actually focusing down the Marines, and the SCVs were in front. If you just auto-attack and scoot and shoot, they'll attack the SCVs instead, but he was focusing down those Marines, making sure he was taking down those valuable units, and really trying to keep the firepower for RuFF at a minimum. So now RuFF is in a huge amount of trouble. I'm not sure if he's got a transition. It looks like he's going to bring most of his SCVs along with these Marines and hope that Stim wins out.
Yeah, SCVs are now making their way in, trying to push in as well. The SCVs are tanking a little bit of that damage. There are a lot of Marines in this group. The Marines are upgraded 1-0, and that may be the one benefiting factor of this push here, as the Stalkers are now once again on the run. The Marines able to get in a lot of damage onto those Stalkers. Another Stalker may get taken down. No, it does not, as the Factory doing another flyby in the base. Not that many SCVs inside this base at all. He needs to perhaps call in a couple more mules, or perhaps just truly do an all-in, as things are looking rather grim.
Yeah, I think he definitely needs to salvage that bunker, if anything, and maybe bring all of his SCVs for a big all-in here. If we check the army count, it's 1,700 to 1,475, so he's got an advantage, but he's got a lot of medevacs here. He really needs to get those in good position to heal up these SCVs and Marines. Now we've got probes being pulled off the line to do a little bit of tanking for the Protoss player, and I'm not sure if Mentalist is going to be able to handle all these Stim Marines with all of these medevacs. There are 6 medevacs, almost 1 per Marine, and more Marines streaming in here for RuFF, and he's going to be able to clean up all those probes, and it looks like he might be able to clean up these Stalkers as well. It's coming down to the last few units here. They're just a handful of Stalkers and a handful of Marines, and we've got Zealots coming in here as well, going to force those Marines to kite, and those Marines not going to get too much healing done, as these medevacs very low on energy. But once again, RuFF taking on all comers here, focusing down more and more of these Stalkers. If we check the army count, it is 1150 to 700. If we check Harvester, it is 8 to 33. So Mentalist still has a huge advantage in the Harvesters.
Yeah, Stalker's still pouring in from that high ground proxy pylon, and really Mentalist getting those reinforcements really, really nice. It looks like he's going to try to focus down the pylon, and is it going to get down in time? Yes, it does get down in time. So now no more Stalker reinforcements. These Stalkers are going to have a very bad time, but now they're focusing down the medevacs as well. So no more medevacs, and that is going to be a very, very strange play, as the Marines now being forced to run away. There was a pylon warped in back over here by Mentalist in the middle, and the Marines rallied straight into this mineral line. Not going to have a good day at all.
If we check the army supply, it's 23 to 10, so RuFF actually has double the army supply of his opponent, but his economy is so bad at this point, he really needs to, I guess, all in here, bring more SCVs. He's got Marines coming over here, and I'm not sure if he's got any sort of play here. The Stalkers and the Zealots are guarding that gold, and it looks like RuFF might be going sort of for a counter into the main of Mentalist, and if he's able to take down, I guess, the majority of these probes here without Mentalist catching wind of this attack, it could swing things around for him.
Yeah, I think, and that's exactly what it's going to be. RuFF now rushing straight into the base. Mentalist realizing a little bit of his issue, going to take down the pylons. And now all of those probes are desperately trying to run away. We'll see what's going to be happening here, as the Marines are still stimming back and forth. And now there's only a few Marines left. Are they going to jump inside the medevac is the key question, and they may be able to run out down to 20 hit points and get shot down.
Oh my, that was so close. He was able to take down that pylon, depower all those warp gates, take down a number of probes, and almost made it out of there. But it is 36 to 48. It is 8 workers to 20, and I think that RuFF is going to be in a lot of trouble here. I think that taking down all those medevacs, very smart for Mentalist. He just had the one. It doesn't have a lot of energy on it. And now RuFF trying for another attack here into the gold. He's got actually quite a few Marines here with this medevac. So going to try to work through these Stalkers and these Zealots. Needs to kite back away from those Zealots best he can and use this medevac to sort of even things out. But I think RuFF's days are numbered here.
Yeah, RuFF, even though he does have 1 upgraded Marines against 0 upgraded Stalkers, it's just the reinforcement count now. There are a lot of Marines up on this high ground. If perhaps Mentalist gets a little bit too tricky or doesn't realize what's going on, double medevacs now being trained as well. We can see RuFF somehow still able to mine, and this is a rather strange occurrence. Oh, a Zealot hugging the corner could have been taken down from the high ground. RuFF perhaps needed to be a little bit more careful there, as a Zealot now going to simply run straight into a group of Marines, and Mentalist, not realizing the sheer number of Marines and firepower on the high ground, deciding to finally back off.
If I was RuFF, I almost would have allowed Mentalist to get up into my base there. Maybe pull those Marines back and then try to trap him, because I think Mentalist at this point, the only way he can lose is to throw away his army, as it looks like RuFF might be, I think he's going for the gold base.
Yeah.
Be gold against gold, and Mentalist's going to spot this right away because he does have the Xel'Naga Tower with the probe.
Yeah, so now in comes the SCVs and the mules, and now making a trek over. RuFF going to be landing that orbital command in just a quick second. Army sizes, you can still see slightly larger for Terran, and those upgrades are going to be very helpful as well, as now another 2 medevacs joining in on the fight. Marines now pushing in, and in comes some force fields. I do not think RuFF was ready for that, but the one force field just slightly out of position, and Mentalist is going to have a little bit of trouble as there's 4 medevacs in the air, and Mentalist says GG. Wow.
That was crazy. Mentalist GG's there. RuFF looked like he was dead so many times, but he was just able to get good trades there. Those medevacs definitely saved him. Stim Marines up against just Stalkers with their low rate of fire and just no healing ability. That was crazy.
Yeah, I am completely shocked and in awe right now. That was an amazing game. 1-1 upgraded Marines with medevacs. I'm not quite sure how he did it. Taking a look, he had like 8 harvesters throughout most of it. You can see resource-wise, he actually mined about 8,000 less. And I don't know what to make of it. I'm sure you guys can take a look at the army value. Mentalist much higher at some points in the game, but RuFF able to win the war of attrition and take the win.